Yeah, baby.
I'll bring it to you. Do. Oh, thanks. Hello. Good morning.
Why does this thing always get gunk right there?
I don't know. Just
Gross.
a flaw in the system. I don't know. Good morning. I usually take the thing out to scrub it. Makes it easier to get in there. I wash that separately. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everyone this morning? Anyone doing anything interesting today? We have to ask, if it's definitely still traveling, Nisa, but I don't know where it is right now. It might either be with Liz or it could be with Becca, and then we need to get it to the next person.
The Sisterhood of the Traveling Slam? Book? What book?
The one that we couldn't read the books out loud of, so we sent it around. The one you got, and they're signing it. Everybody's signing it.
The one I got?
The one you got me for our anniversary.
Which one was that again?
The murder one.
Oh, it was that risque?
Only at the end.
Oh, okay.
But it was funny, and everyone's going to sign it and send it back, and it's going to be a traveling book club. Yes, Anya, we'll take care of that. Don't worry. We can actually ask Becca. Becca, do you have the book, or does Liz have the book? All clean? Yay! Becca just got here, so we can find out the answer. Liz has it? Okay. So Liz is going to pass it on to Becca, and then, that's really funny now you said it. Yeah, I always put little things in there like that just to see if people are reading. That's how I find out who's actually reading, you know? Liz is going to pass it on to Becca, and then Becca will pass it on to the next person, and then the next person, and so on and so forth and so on. Etc., etc. Good morning. I packed up all the orders from last night already, so they're going to go to the post office right after this. I was going to ask her about meeting up, but then, right, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, Becca's kids got sick, so she couldn't meet up with Liz, but she's going to get it from her soon, and then we'll mail it on to whoever else. Whoever's next. I think the next closest person will be one of you guys in Michigan, right, Amanda? I would assume that's the next closest, and then it'll just kind of keep working its way across. Is anyone closer to New York than that's in book club? You are very welcome, Julia. Minneapolis, not Michigan, sorry. That's Grace. Grace is in Michigan. I don't know anyone between you guys who's closer. Who knows? Who knows? But we're gonna send it either way. It was funny actually reading the options. I have no say, but I was reading them and I was like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Mina. Oh yeah, Mina. Mina's not in book club though. Danielle's definitely not. Mina pops in every once in a while, but she wasn't here for that book. Yeah, that seems fine, Anya. We have a lot of people in Michigan and Minnesota. We do. We have a lot of those. So I think that's the next place it'll go. Hey, Brittany. How you doing? We could send it down to Brittany and then up and around. Parents are in town. Woo! Brittany's just south of y'all. And then I think everybody, Becca, because you're HR. Right? I mean, isn't that how that goes? I would assume. But I could be wrong. Woke up at 6 a.m. to get on the road. Yay, San Diego. You're going back. That's true, Becca. That's true. That's a good point. Finally, it has happened to me right in front of my face. Hey, Jen. Ooh, road trip. Where are you headed on your road trip, Rosie? That's exciting. All right. Let's go to Reading Land. Everyone have their coffee and or whatever else. Oh, that's exciting. That sounds like a fun road trip. I genuinely do love a road trip. I'm a road trip kind of gal. So, you know, that does sound fun to me. Does sound fun. Coffee and Pop-Tarts. Ooh, what flavor? Have you ever seen that thing where they're like debating what the best flavor of Pop-Tarts is? That was a hilarious video. Almost as funny as the bubble video, but not quite. The Galinda and, you know. Ah, coffee. Tastes so good. Raspberry, nice. I don't even know how long it's been since I've had a real Pop-Tart. However, I think you are, Brittany. However, I will tell you, there are a couple of brands that make pretty legit sugar-free, like fake Pop-Tarts. I have to say, not bad. Maybe it's just that I haven't had sugar in so long that I can't tell the difference, but like, they're pretty good. They're pretty good, and I do eat those. Not like a lot, but when I get my keto crate, sometimes they come in them, and I will enjoy those. Yeah. Big fan of the strawberry one. Yeah. So anyway, let's get reading because it's a busy day. S'more pottery. What's that? They have a s'more flavored one? I didn't know that. That would definitely not be something I would be allowed to have. We do it every year. My son's graduating next year though, so I'm not sure if we'll keep. Oh, that's so cute though. That's so cute. You're back. All right. So we are on chapter 6, friends. Me too, Brittany. Me too. We're on chapter 6 right now, y'all, and I'm about to tell you the title, and I am ready for the collective gasp. Are you ready? The Ravencrest School of Witchcraft. So we are gonna go with Pip to the school. Jen, don't be sorry. Embrace it. Embrace it. So now it's time to see what's going on. Oh boy. Oh boy. Lucy flew as far away from the northern mountains as her geese would carry her. That's an amazing line. I'm going to read it again just because we need to enjoy how funny this line is. Lucy flew as far away from the northern mountains as her geese would carry her. She had no idea which direction they were headed in, but Lucy couldn't care less. Putting distance between her and Bristol was her only priority. Even though Lucy had said she never wanted to see or speak to Bristol again, she had imaginary arguments with Bristol for the entire journey. The flock flew all night, and by sunrise the birds were too exhausted to take Lucy any farther. The geese unexpectedly dropped her off in the middle of the forest, and Lucy landed with a thump on her behind. "Pillow stuffers," she yelled at the geese and waved an angry fist. Lucy got to her feet and brushed herself off, continuing on foot. She wandered aimlessly through the trees without a plan or a destination in mind, and although she was traveling alone, Lucy wasn't worrying about crossing paths with anything dangerous. She was so angry, she was convinced that she was the scariest thing in the forest.
She walked for miles and miles without seeing another living creature. Lucy was so distracted by her heated thoughts that she barely noticed the land changing around her. When she finally looked up, Lucy discovered that she had strolled into the middle of a creepy part of the woods. All the trees had black bark. Their branches curled into the sky and they were completely bare of leaves. A thick mist hung in the air, making it difficult to see more than a few yards in any direction. Eventually, Lucy found a path that curved through the forest like an endless serpent. It was paved with black stones and a sign with a post beside it that pointed in one direction. Ravencrest Manor, 7 miles. 7 miles. It's a long walk, I have to say. Lucy couldn't believe her eyes. She read the sign multiple times. It seemed too convenient to be a coincidence. Perhaps her journey hadn't been as aimless as she'd thought. Perhaps her knack for trouble had been guiding her here the whole time. She assumed that the Ravencrest Manor was the same location as the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft, but there was only one way to really be certain, so Lucy followed the path deeper into the woods, and 7 miles later, she had her answer. The path led to an enormous house that sat on the top of a high hill. The home was constructed from a combination of black bricks, burnt lumber, and dark stones, as if the property had been damaged and rebuilt several times over the years. 13 crooked towers sprouted from the roof at awkward angles that broke the law of physics. The manor was surrounded by a graveyard of uneven tombstones and miniature crypts. The whole property was protected by a tall iron fence, and 2 grotesque gargoyles were perched atop a gate that was chained shut. Hey, Cindy, we just barely started. The grounds were occupied by hundreds of lynxes with dark fur, wispy ears, and yellow eyes. The hefty felines prowled, played, and lounged among the tombstones, and judging by the size of their bellies, they were all well fed. Without a doubt, Lucy knew she was looking at the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft, and not just because the words "the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft" were arched over the gate. The property was so ominous it had to be a home for witches. It was the exact opposite of the fairy territory, and Lucy couldn't think of a better place to avoid Bristol. She cautiously walked toward the iron fence and peered through the bars for a better look. "Hello?" Lucy called. "Is anyone home?" Suddenly, a loud crunching noise came from behind her. Lucy turned around and screamed because 2 trees in the woods were moving on their own. The trees had pulled their roots out of the ground and were quickly shuffling toward her. They wrapped their curly branches around her arms and legs and raised her into the air. "Hey, let me go!" Lucy demanded. "Don't make me turn you into toothpicks." To make matters worse, the gargoyles on top of the gate suddenly came to life as well. The statues leaped to the ground and landed directly in front of Lucy with 2 heavy thuds. "Looks like we've got our first visitor of the day," the first gargoyle said. "What do you think, Stone? Is this one a grave robber, a witch hunter, or a traveling salesman?" To be honest with you, Brick, I'm not really sure which of those is worse, the second one joked. The gargoyles shared a laugh, and their chuckle sounded like stones scraping against stone. Lucy groaned as she struggled to free herself from the tree's branches. "Hey, Stony D and Stony Dumb, you better get these overgrown weeds off of me or you'll be sorry. I'm a member of the Fairy Council. Well, I'm usually a member of the Fairy Council. You're going to be in big trouble if you don't release me." The gargoyles studied Lucy with their hollow eye sockets and smelled her with their stone snouts. "Hey, Grace, long time no see. What's up, girl?" That's funny, because you don't smell like a fairy, Brick said. Nope, she smells like bird poop, Stone said. "Yeah, look who's talking, Mildew Breath." "You don't sound like a fairy either," Brick said. "No, she sounds like a sailor," Stone said. Lucy rolled her eyes. "Is there a manager I can speak to?" she asked. "Where's that Mistress Mara lady? She invited me here personally. I don't think she'd appreciate how you're treating me." "Hey, Karen." "Hear that, Stone? The smelly fairy says she knows the mistress," Brick said. Do you think she's telling the truth?" Stone asked. "I hope not. I love watching what Mistress does to intruders." "Yeah, me too." The gargoyles grinned and turned towards the gate. All the chains slithered away like snakes, and the gate opened by itself. Brick and Stone headed up the hill to the manor, and the trees followed them, keeping Lucy suspended in the air as they went. All the lynxes stopped what they were doing to stare at Lucy. The felines were so interested in her that Lucy could have sworn there was something strangely human about the way that they watched her. The manor's enormous front door was made from stained glass, depicting a terrifying owl preying on an innocent mouse. Brick pulled the lever for the doorbell, and instead of a traditional chime, Lucy heard a few high-pitched screams echo through the house. A few moments later, the front door opened a crack, and the butler peered outside. He wore a gold monocle and a three-piece suit, white gloves. But besides his clothes, the butler was completely invisible. "Tell the mistress there's a rude teenager that wants to see her," Brick instructed. The butler nodded, or at least his monocle bobbed up and down in the space above his collar. The invisible servant stepped back and shut the large door behind him. A few moments later, the servant returned and gestured for them to enter. The trees dropped Lucy on the doorstep, and the gargoyles pushed her inside the manor. The interior of the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft was nothing like its mismatched exterior. In fact, Lucy was very impressed by its eerie and elegant design. The floor was covered in black and white tiles laid in spirals to resemble spider webs. The walls were completely blank and had the same color and texture as old parchment. The entryway had an enormous chandelier of live hanging bats that fluttered through the air. An enormous taxidermied bear stood in the center of the large entryway and had been turned into a grandfather clock. The bear clenched a ticking clock face in its mouth, while a pendulum swung in its empty torso. A grand staircase with railings made of bones curved around the bear. As Lucy's eyes followed the staircase up toward the high ceiling, she discovered it was connected to a labyrinth of bridges, landings, and ladders. The other staircases crossed and zigzagged and looped as they ascended to the upper floors. The layout was so complex that Lucy became dizzy just from looking at it. "What a pleasant surprise!" At first, Lucy couldn't tell where the airy voice was coming from, but eventually she saw Mistress Mara descending one of the many levels above her. "Thank you, boys," the witch said. "I can take it from here." The gargoyles bowed to her and returned to their post outside. Mistress Mara reached the ground floor, leaving a trail of smoke on the stairs behind her. The witch was so delighted to see Lucy that her pale face was practically glowing. Lucy tried to greet the witch with a handshake, but Mistress Mara only stared at the gesture and wouldn't touch her. "Welcome to Ravencrest, Miss Gousset," Mistress Mara said. "I hope the trees and the gargoyles didn't alarm you. There are just a few minor precautions I put in place to keep the school safe. Witches can never have too much protection." "If those were minor precautions, I'd hate to see your version of a fire drill," Lucy said. Mistress Mara threw her head back and cackled at the remark. Lucy couldn't tell if the witch was genuinely amused or not, but it was nice to hear someone laugh at one of her jokes for a change. "Well, you just killed me," Mistress Mara said. "So what brings you here?" "Yeah, well, I was in the neighborhood and I just decided to check it out," Lucy said. "Well, were you thinking about joining our school?" the witch asked. Lucy shrugged. "Yeah, maybe," she said. "To be honest, I don't really have a game plan right now. I could use a break from those fairies, though. There's someone I'm trying to avoid, and I didn't know where else to go." "Well, how delightfully vengeful," Mistress Mara said. "In that case, why don't you spend a few days with us?" "Really? You wouldn't mind?" "Oh, no, I insist," she said. "It would be our treat to host you. Who knows? You might even like it here. You might even decide to stay. Shall I give you a tour of the manor?" "Yeah, that'd be great," Lucy said. "Thanks, Double M." "No nicknames, dear," the witch said. "Please follow me." Mistress Mara showed Lucy around the spooky yet sophisticated manor, and once again made it a point not to touch her. The ground floor had a sitting room with furniture that was upholstered in reptile skin and porcupine needles. Next to the sitting room was a dining room with a long table and benches built from coffins. There was also a small library that seemed more like a zoo because all the books growled and hissed behind cages. The kitchen was in the basement, or at least Lucy thought it was a kitchen. Instead of pots and pans, the room had a variety of cauldrons, and instead of traditional pantry, it had shelves of colorful elixirs and grotesque ingredients. I'm halfway through The Tale of Magic, and it's so good I don't want to put it down. It's so good, but I'm still watching even though it'll be spoiled. I don't necessarily think it'll be spoiled. We haven't really had spoilers, because this is a prequel, so it's not really spoilers, right? You know what I mean? This comes before Land of Stories. So, you know. Wow, this place is so dreary, it's almost charming, Lucy said. Thank you, Mistress Mara said. I've put a lot of work into it. Have you, always lived here? I've lived so many places over the years I've lost count. When I decided to open the School of Witchcraft, I looked for the perfect location, and Ravencrest Manor was exactly what we needed. It was originally the home of our benefactors, Lord and Lady Ravencrest. And couple didn't have any children, so they decided to leave the property to us. They kindly donated it. Wow, that's one heck of a gift, Lucy said. It was so generous that even they couldn't believe it, the witch said. As they toured the different chambers, that was weird. Even they couldn't believe it. Did she steal it from them, do you think? What does that mean? Anyway, as they toured the different chambers, Lucy noticed each room had the same illustration drawn on the wall, yet donated. It was of a black goat with long horns and a short beard, and the illustration had such an inquisitive expression that Lucy was convinced there was a soul behind its eyes. She examined it closely and gasped. The illustrated goat suddenly moved and roamed across the wall. Apparently, the manor didn't have the same illustration in every room, but one illustration that moved from room to room. And what the heck is that? Lucy asked. Oh, that's just old Billy, Mistress Mara said. She's an illustration that lives in the walls. She's also a mischievous little creature, so try to stay away from her. Like the lynxes outside, the goat watched Lucy with a level of curiosity that seemed strangely human. Why is she looking at me like that? Lucy asked. Well, knowing her, she's probably hungry. The witch snapped her fingers and a quill appeared in her hand. She drew a patch of grass on the wall, and old Billy gobbled it up. Lucy could have watched the living illustration all day, but Mistress Mara escorted her back to the entryway. Hey, how big is this place anyway? Lucy asked. Well, last time we counted, the manor had 13 floors and 77 rooms, the witch said. Only one room is off limits, and that's my personal study on the 7.5 floor. That's assuming I can find it, Lucy said. Once again, Mistress Mara threw her head back and cackled at Lucy's joke. This time, Lucy knew the witch was only pretending, but she appreciated it nonetheless. The girls are just gonna love your sense of humor, Mistress Mara said. Now come with me and I'll show you to the bedroom. You'll be sharing a room with the other girls in the East Tower on the 11th floor. Pay very close attention to how we get there. It is really easy to get lost in a house like this. The maid went missing for 2 months and honestly, we still haven't found her. Lucy let out a nervous laugh. Good help is to find, I guess, she said. After 6 flights of stairs, 4 walkways, and 3 windy halls, Mistress Mara and Lucy finally arrived at the East Tower on the 11th floor. The witch's bedroom door was shaped like a star, and there was a sign pinned to it that said, Witches only! No warlocks allowed! Girls, are you decent? Mistress Mara asked as she knocked on the door. She and Lucy squeezed through the doorway and stepped into the bedroom. To Lucy's surprise, instead of regular beds, the witches were lounging on a large nest like a family of giant birds. The girls were dressed in striped pajamas and were in the middle of different activities when Lucy entered the room. Sprout was brushing her bushy green hair, Stitches was sewing limbs onto a knitted doll, Bibi was shaking a container of bugs, and Harriet was braiding her long purple hair. Pip, on the other hand, seemed sad and was silently gazing out the window. Pip hadn't been at Ravencrest for even a whole day yet, and Lucy could tell she was already homesick. Ladies, we have a special visitor, Mistress Mara announced. Lucy! Pip was thrilled to see a familiar face. What are you doing here? Are you joining Ravencrest? To be determined, Lucy said. I thought I'd stick my toe in the witch pond before I really jump in. Miss Gousset will be spending a few days with us, Mistress Mara told them. Let's all make sure that she has a very enjoyable visit. The witches all had different reactions to the news. Stitches stared at Lucy like she was a new toy to play with. Bibi was so excited about another roommate that she was practically vibrating. Sprout seemed completely indifferent to Lucy. In fact, she was more interested in a piece of floating lint through the air. Harriet wasn't happy about the situation at all. She crossed her arms and her nose twitched with suspicion. Mistress Mara, are you sure this is a good idea? Harriet asked. She's part of the fairy council. The fairy godmother probably sent her to spy on us. Well then, I'm sure she'll have nothing but good things to report back, Mistress Mara said. Actually, I was recently suspended from the fairy council, Lucy said. I'm not sure if I'll ever go back to the fairy territory. There's some bad blood at the moment. Blood is never bad, Stitches whispered.
Oh, I hope you decide to stay with us, Pip said. We're just getting ready for bed. Here, you can sleep next to mine.
You're getting ready for bed? Lucy asked. But it's morning. The girls cackled at Lucy's obliviousness. You don't know much about witches, do you? Harriet asked. We sleep during the day and we stay awake all night, Stitches said. Because we're creatures of the moon, Phoebe stuttered. Actually, witches are naturally nocturnal, Sprout noted. You know, like bats, owls, moths, foxes, badgers, raccoons, mice, the northwestern hedgehog, and certain breeds of tree frog. I think she gets the point, Sprout, Mistress Mara interjected. Now, Lucy, why don't we get you something comfortable to wear for bed, and maybe something more appropriate to wear around the manor? Mistress Mara guided Lucy to the back of the bedroom, and she stood in front of a wardrobe with mirrored doors. They stared into the mirror for a few moments, and just when Lucy was about to ask what they were waiting for, the wardrobe popped open on its own. Hanging inside were a pair of pajamas, a black cloak with a pointed hood, and striped stockings just in Lucy's size. Well, unless you have any other questions, I think I'll head to bed myself, Mistress Mara said. Everyone try to get some rest. We have a long night ahead of us. Good day. Good day, Mistress Mara, the witches said in unison. After Mistress Mara left the bedroom, Lucy changed into her pajamas and sat on the edge of her nest. The witches watched her in complete silence, and Lucy felt like a lamb in a lion's den. So, she tried to break the tension. Tell me about yourselves. How did you end up at the Ravencrest School of Witchcraft? I don't see how my life is any of your business, Harriet said. I was abandoned at birth, Phoebe sputtered. I bounced from an orphanage to orphanage until Mistress Mara found me. My parents are just extremely open-minded, Sprout said. They had no problem with me joining a school of witchcraft. They were just happy I had a reason to get out of the house. My mom's impressed by how fast you read. Oh, thank you, thank you. My family was mauled to death by bears, Stitches was excited to share. The bears were shot by hunters, and the hunters were attacked by wolves. I had to hide in a hollow log for 19 hours before it was safe to come out, and the whole thing happened on my birthday. Gosh, that sounds a little bit traumatic, Lucy said. I'm so sorry. Don't be, Stitches said with a creepy grin. It was the best day of my life. Lucy could tell that Stitches was proud of how uncomfortable she was making her. Her abnormally wide mouth curved into a creepy grin, and she winked at Lucy with her small eye. Hey, do you know why they call me Stitches? She asked. I absolutely do not, Lucy said. After the first round of questions, the bedroom went silent again, and Lucy looked around the room, desperate to find something to talk about. I'm sorry. I love Lucy so much. I absolutely do not. That's funny. She noticed each of the witches had a unique collection on the shelves above their nests. Harriet was growing a small vegetable garden in pots. Phoebe kept a variety of insects in small containers, and Stitches had an assortment of knitted dolls. Sprout collected jars of what Lucy hoped was dirt. It looks like you guys all have some hobbies, Lucy said. Harriet, do you enjoy gardening? Obviously, Harriet snapped. And Bibi, you like to collect bugs? Makes me feel powerful, she said. Sprout, are those containers of soil I see? Oh, no, it's fertilizer. Excuse me? I grew up on a farm, Sprout said. The smell reminds me of home. You know how they say you can take the girl away from the fertilizer, but you can't take the fertilizer away from the girl? And Stitches, Lucy said to change the subject. Tell me about your dolls. Are they significant to you? Instead of answering, Stitches lunged toward Lucy and plucked a strand of her hair. The witch carefully sewed the hair onto the head of her doll and then closed her eyes and whispered an incantation. When it was finished, Stitches began poking the doll with her sewing needle. "Can you feel that?" she asked. "Feel what? How about this?" No. I feel annoyed. What about that? I feel annoyed. Does that count? Stitches sighed and tossed the doll aside. "Then, to answer your question, no, my dolls aren't as significant as I wish they were," she said. Lucy noticed that the witches were all still wearing golden necklaces with white moonstones that they wore yesterday in the fairy territory. "Hey, what's up with your necklaces?" Lucy said. "What's up with your questions?" Harriet asked. "Are you writing a book about us?" "They just seem fancy, that's all," Lucy said. "I see everyone has a necklace except for Pippi." "That's because you have to earn it," Bibi said. "Before someone is officially enrolled at the Ravencrest school, they have to pass 4 entrance exams," Stitches explained. "Mistress Mara tests all the skills in jinxes, hexes, potions, and curses. Once you pass all the tests, she presents you with a golden necklace at your enrollment ceremony." Lucy was confused. "If you guys have done all that much witchcraft already, why do you look so normal? Why hasn't witchcraft distorted your appearance like other witches?" "Oh, we have our secrets," Sprout teased. "So stick around and you'll see," Bibi said. These witches exchanged a sly smile, and Lucy knew they were eager to tell her, but the girls didn't spill any other details. Tell me more about Mistress Mara," Lucy said. "Where's she from? What was she up to before she opened Ravencrest?" "We don't really know much about her," Sprout said. "None of us knew her before the school opened, and that was only a couple months ago." "But we have theories about her," Stitches said, raising her eyebrows suggestively. "Theories?" Lucy asked. Stitches hurried to the bedroom door and peeked through the keyhole to make sure Mistress Mara wasn't standing in the hall. When the coast was clear, she took a seat beside Lucy. "I'm sure you've noticed Mistress Mara has a unique specialty," Stitches said. You mean her frightening but fashionable taste?" Lucy asked. "No," Sprout said. "Everything she touches dies." "At first, we thought that Mistress Mara was a witch with a specialty for death," Stitches said. "But now we're convinced she might be something more than a witch. Have you ever heard about the legend of the Daughter of Death?" "The Daughter of Death?" Lucy asked as she thought about the name. "Is that like the Undertaker in the Eastern Kingdom who runs the Cadaver puppet show?" "Not even close," Bibi said. "Well, then I'm thinking of someone else entirely," Lucy said. "Who's the Daughter of Death?"
"Oh, I know that story," Pip said. "When I lived at the Bootstrap Correctional Facility, the wardens used to talk about her to give us nightmares."
Would you care to fill me in?" Lucy asked.
Pip sat straight up and cleared her throat.
According to legend, in the beginning of time, Death was very different than he is today. They say that he dressed like an angel, and he loved to sing and dance, and that he treated life with kindness. They say Death allowed every creature to live for 100 years before escorting them to the other side. However, all this changed when humanity was created. Unlike the other species, humans always grieved the people that they lost, despite all the years that they had together. Death found this behavior extremely curious, and he became desperate to understand it. So Death created a daughter and sent her into the world of the living. And the separation made Death miss his daughter terribly, and he finally understood what it was like to grieve. He looked forward to reuniting with his daughter once her 100 years of life were over. Unfortunately for Death, his daughter liked the world of the living. Over time, she learned how to avoid her father and live forever. On the day of her 100th birthday, Death searched for his daughter everywhere, but he couldn't find her. Panicked, Death invented disease and injury to help him look, but his daughter was clever and knew how to avoid his inventions too. Death was so distraught that he traded his angel wings for the black cloak that he's infamous for. Although it's been thousands of years since he's seen his daughter, Death still hasn't given up hope. And he continued to invent new ways of finding her. Today they say whenever Death takes someone before the 100 years is up, it isn't because he's cruel, it's just that he's searching for his daughter. And he takes people randomly in case she's wearing a disguise.
Even though the witches knew the story by heart, Pip's version was the most chilling that they had ever heard. That was some seriously scary stuff, Phoebe said. I'm gonna have dame ears now, Sprout cried. Are you guys yanking my tail feather? Lucy chuckled. I mean, you don't actually think Mistress Mara is the daughter of death, do you? Of course we do, Stitches said. Have any of you just asked her? Lucy asked. The witches looked at Lucy like she was crazy. Why do fairies always have to just try to solve everything? Harriet grumbled. Can't you people just enjoy a perfectly good mystery? Stitches let out a big yawn and stretched her arms. Daughter of Death story always pushed me right to sleep. We should go to bed before it gets too early. The girls shut the curtains and laid down in their nests. Within a few minutes, the witches were fast asleep, but Lucy couldn't sleep after hearing about the Daughter of Death. She didn't know if the witches were serious or if they were just trying to scare her, but either way, they had given Lucy a lot more questions about Mistress Mara than she already had.
Psst, Lucy, Pip whispered. How do you like Ravencrest so far?
It's hard to say, Lucy said. I only been here a couple of hours, and so far I've been manhandled by possessed trees, insulted by talking gargoyles, stalked by a living illustration, and spooked by ghost stories about death. I know, Pip said. It's really not for everybody. Lucy smiled. Actually, I think I could learn to love this place. Uh-oh. Lucy might stay. I still want to know who Pip becomes. But we might be losing Lucy Goosey. Well, that was an amazing chapter. I loved every second of it. And I think that Stitches is hilarious. I know, right? Fun, Sydney, fun. Yeah, uh-oh. I'm confused too. I have no guesses. Yeah, I know, you guys. I know. It's stressful. The whole thing is stressful. I don't know what else to say. It's all good. I might be on later to make slime. Not 100%. Depends on how much I get through with other stuff. But I do need to make base. Don't forget, we do have putty class tomorrow. And then I'm going to schedule the next Pride roll for slime for either this weekend or early next week. Enjoy Starbucks, Miss Anya. And then that's pretty much the whole kit and caboodle here on this end. Yeah, me too, Jen. I think it'll be fun. So I will see you all later. If you are on Patreon, please go over there soon because that information is in the poll, Roxy. It's in the poll. You can. I wrote up all the information on there. It says who gets it. Not yet, Cindy. I'm still holding out hope. I paid for them. Just waiting for them to show up. Just waiting. The good news, Cindy, is the slime of the month for July is going to be heat impervious, thankfully. But all right. So I will see you all later and or tomorrow morning, all things dependent. And I am taking stuff to the post office very shortly here. So if you got I see, Cindy. Gosh, I haven't gotten them yet. I don't know. They're just I'll have to track them. There wasn't like because they're coming from abroad. So like the tracking doesn't really work until they get into the country. You know what I mean? Yes, your box of glue, Amanda. Your box of glue is going to the post office today. All right, I'll see you all later. Mwah! Bye, guys.